This is Dr. J. Welcome to Thesis in 101, where you realize just how much of a social construct weekends are. In this series, we cover tips and tricks to help you on your research journey. If you missed the previous lessons on this series, check out the description box below for the links. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Today's focus is on understanding the differences between an introduction and a conclusion and looking at how you can use those sections to add value in your writing. Let's get right into it. In our first couple of lessons, we spoke about the importance of creating a specific image in our reader's mind. We then also looked at building arguments and how to string sentences together using standardized language and linking words and phrases. While the previous lessons were focused on a more granular level, this one will be focused on how to make an entire section flow coherently. Let's start with the basics. In each section, we have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Let's start with the introduction. This is where you meet your reader. This is where you are introducing your body of work. Think of it as taking your reader on a trip, and before they commit to this trip, you introduce all the places they will visit. This way they will know what to expect and in which order to expect it. While the introduction may be the first thing your reader will see in your section, this should typically be the last thing that you write. This is because the introduction creates an expectation which needs to be met by the body of work. It is much easier to introduce the body of work when it already exists. Here's an example of how to write an introduction for a specific section. Imagine you have already written a chapter in your thesis, dissertation, or paper in a Word document. We will use the navigation pane in your Word document as a map to create a simple introduction. As a reminder, the linking words and phrases for showing sequence can be very useful at this point. If you have not yet received your free copy of the linking words and phrases list, click on the link in the description box below and I will send it to you. In this example, we would like to introduce an entire chapter. First, we introduce the chapter by its name, which in this case is the literature review. Thereafter, we give a brief introduction of what a lit review is and the phenomenon the lit review will be focused on. In this case, our phenomenon is a digital business strategy. Next, we introduce the topics that will be covered in the chapter in the sequence as it appears in our body of work. When introducing a large set of data like this, having one sentence per idea would be very irritating to the reader. As a solution, you can group multiple ideas per sentence. Let me show you what I mean. To start off the introduction, we can start with the linking word first. We do this because using this particular word will automatically prepare the reader to expect a sequence, which is part of the point of an introduction. Since we have to introduce a lot of ideas in this section, we must be careful not to continue with linking our sentences to each other in the form of secondly, third, fourth, fifth, because this too will irritate the reader. If you have a small number of things to introduce, then that sequencing will certainly work. But with a large set of ideas like this, linking words such as this includes, furthermore, penultimately, and last would be more appropriate. Bonus tip: when you have a large body of work to introduce, you can add a figure that maps it out. This makes it easier for your reader to visualize what to expect, and it will certainly earn you brownie points. Moving on to your body of work. Your body of work is a collection of arguments written in paragraph format. On a micro level, linking these are essentially the same as linking sentences. You can use standardized language and linking words and phrases to do so. Those techniques are discussed at length in the previous parts of the series, as such will not be discussed today. On a macro level, headings and subheadings can be used to group arguments together in a sequence that is conducive to telling a coherent story. For a demonstration on how to create a mind map or even use the navigation pane in MS Word to create a structure for your story, check out the tutorial on how to create a lit review structure. While the tutorial is focused on a lit review, the techniques can be used for any body of work that you wish to create. Now let's move on to the conclusion. While your introduction is focused on what is coming, the conclusion focuses on summarizing what you have already said. Unfortunately, many new researchers cannot see the distinction between the purpose of an introduction and the purpose of a conclusion. The major difference between your introduction and the conclusion is that the introduction focuses on listing the points that you would like to talk about. As mentioned before, it is giving your reader an overview of the journey ahead. The conclusion, on the other hand, is summarizing your main arguments, as in summarizing the things you want your reader to believe. So if your conclusion is a copy of your introduction just written in the past tense, you are missing the opportunity to reiterate your contributions to your reader. Yet another reminder, the linking words and phrases for summarizing can be very useful at this point. For your conclusion, the navigation pane can still be useful. You can still consult your body of work to ensure that you cover all your significant arguments, so you can use the navigation pane as a checklist. Here's an example. We can use a linking phrase in summary to indicate to the reader that we are in conclusion mode. Thereafter, we stress the main point of our section in the first sentence. In summary, the premise of a digital business is to create value through IT, not only at an operational level, ... Continue this process of highlighting significant arguments based on your checklist. Since we use the example of an entire chapter here, it would be most appropriate to introduce the following chapter as part of your conclusion. By doing this, you are continuing the act of prepping the reader in terms of what's next. In summary, each section has a beginning, middle, and end. Much like sentences, paragraphs must be linked in a coherent fashion too. And use every opportunity to make the reader see the value you bring to your field. That concludes this lesson. The next one will be focused on the golden thread of writing throughout your entire deliverable. Thank you for watching. Let me know if there are other topics you would like me to look at. Signing off.